attendees in South Africa, can you please confirm whether you can hear me? Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you very much, everyone. So welcome to the Leiden University webinar. We would like to welcome, or make a special mention of everyone attending from both South Africa and abroad. I am Kwantim Shambiso, and I am the Education Promotion Officer for NAFIC NESO, South Africa. And we are located here in Pretoria in the Embassy of the Netherlands. So the kind of work that we do essentially is promoting mobility. That includes both students and staff in the Netherlands. And basically also from the Netherlands to come to South Africa and to come to your respective universities as well. So we essentially act as a go-between between the two countries. Joined on the other side, I have my colleague Megan Rousseau, who will also be answering a lot of your questions. Aside from Leiden, we have Carolyn, who will just briefly introduce herself right now. Caroline?
Okay, I think hopefully you can hear me, all of you at this point. My name is Carolyn, and I work here at Leiden University in the International Office. And I'm going to talk to you a bit later about the university, the programs we offer, and all the practical things you know about the University of Leiden.
Okay. I hope everyone can still hear us. Refilwe, are you guys still having problems, Bloemfontein? Okay, fantastic. Well, it seems like everyone can hear us. So if you guys can indicate your whether we can actually start. Can everyone see the presentation on the screens? Thanks. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so how it's going to work generally is that I'm going to start with a brief 10-minute introduction of and then you will get basically just to give you an introduction or an impression of what that entails, and of course some logistical issues that you might have to encounter. So you've already taken the first step in attending this webinar because I assume everyone here is interested in going to the Netherlands, and Leiden University is top-rated universities in Europe, in the Netherlands, and in the world. So we're very happy to have them showing interest in South African students. So I'm just going to start now. I hope everyone can still hear me. So how I'm going to work basically is just give you general impressions about Holland, or the Netherlands, so to speak, and give you also an idea of the education system and specifically how that compares to South Africa. And then we'll also give you some information items so that you can also go and do your own independent research for where you can be able to find the information that you need. For those of you who do not or cannot hear me, or for those who are not able to attend, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube site. And my colleague Megan will give you all the details towards the end. So please do not worry if you're not able to attend or if you are experiencing audio difficulties. And just to be clear, I see that there's a question about Zimbabwe. This is not a presentation that's specifically tailored for South Africans. It is applicable to all living and working in Africa. It's not just for citizens. So please do not worry about that. So generally, what kind of impression or what comes to mind when you think of the Netherlands? If anyone can just give me just any general impressions or anything that you know about the Netherlands itself. Water, yes, very correct. Slope waffles, Robin, yes. Cheap beer, that is correct. Basically, yes. The Netherlands, or Holland as it's colloquially called, it is a combination of all of that. It is that and more. And it's a country that prides itself with diversity, and it basically caters for different interests and different people from different backgrounds. Of course, cheese is one of the things that they pride themselves for. Tulips, um, very, 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 very low to non-existent crime rates, and a football team that apparently is not doing so well right now, but I won't go into the details of that. The country itself, on a more technical and serious side, is also quite well known for innovation in technology, uh, and it is also very good in when it comes to a lot of a lot of forward-thinking technology, and you have a lot of Nobel laureates, for example, that come from the Netherlands. And this is quite significant the Netherlands. It is a very, very tiny country. It's actually just a little bit bigger than Gauteng. So you can actually go from the north to the south within about 3 hours on a train, a bit longer as well. Um, and generally, um, there's a it's a very small population as well. So they've about 17 million, a bit more as of last year or this year. But that being said, you know how people say dynamite comes in small packages. It certainly packs a lot. As a country, the Netherlands is very diverse, and it's something that society itself as a whole. So I myself am a South African, and I get the Netherlands after studying at Rhodes University in Grahamstown. I went to do a master's in 2013, and I got the opportunity to work and study for being in a very prime, and um, it has a very highly developed public transport system, and again, there I'm able to share with you that you do not need to be able to drive, and in fact, most of the population in the Netherlands doesn't drive at all. A lot of people use bicycles, and bicycles is a perfect medium of transportation. Anywhere you can travel from anywhere in the country. Changing between trams and trains to buses. But generally, a lot of people just like to cycle everywhere because it's a very flat country where you're able to not really suffer as much. And of course, depending on whether you like cycling or not, or whether you're a fan of the outdoors. It's also a country that prides itself in being a hub of a lot of creativity, and that's is replete with examples of that level of creativity in terms of the artistry that you see in the Netherlands. You see, when you see all the villages there that are way more developed you would typically expect in our region, for example, for those of you who haven't been there just yet. And of course, it's a pioneer. It's certainly done a lot of designs around the world that are very key in terms of innovation, and the Netherlands is certainly a very good purveyor of green architecture. So a lot of for those of you who are interested in things like the Netherlands does a lot of things in agriculture, and in a lot of innovative technologies in agriculture have come from the Netherlands. So another question that normally comes up is people are very worried about studying in the Netherlands because of language reasons. One of the things that I would like to tell you is that you don't have to worry about that, because as you can see on this map, in comparison to the rest of Europe, the Netherlands itself second to the UK and Ireland in terms of the ability to engage in the English language. And furthermore, you do not have to worry not being to see the Netherlands because they have a lot. And I think at the moment the statistics are about 2,100 English taught master's courses and about just under 400 for bachelors. In terms of just the education being in English, but also the society itself. So everywhere you go, if you are lost somewhere, be it in Amsterdam where I studied, or be it in the smaller cities and the smaller village, you are able to engage with people in English. So you'd never be like I was in France, for example. Um, So as a hub of research and education, as I've already said, there are a lot, there's a plethora of English taught in various things. My colleague Megan will share the link with you that actually shows you where exactly to go depending on what programs you're looking for. So there's everything for everyone. It just depends on how you fashion it and what level you are at as well. And that's what's come in. In terms of reputation, be you a believer in terms of world rankings as a whole, as a metric for how good a country is. I'd like to once again for you to remember that the Netherlands itself is only just a little bit bigger than Gauteng, our province here. So the fact that there are 8 higher education institutes. The fact that there are 8 higher education institutes in the top 100 institutions around the world is something that is highly impressive, because for such a small country, it's quite a significant, which is close to 10% of the top 100 institutions, is really something that we're very proud of. A lot of people who also go abroad compares to the education systems at home, for example. And I can say that for example, Europe itself, any country that you study in Europe has quite a standardized uniform system of comparing and ensuring that the standards are all met. So in terms of accreditation, we certainly wouldn't have issues when you do come back home and apply for jobs, for example. We also have quite a lot of scientific research coming out of the Netherlands, and it's also definitely a huge contender in the European community as a whole. And that's something that is obviously what it's also present in terms, or evidence rather, in terms of the Nobel laureates that come from there, the amount of funding of research that does take place within the country and outside the continent as a whole. So a lot of universities, for example, and they have institutes or dedicated institutes that go out into, uh, other continents to explore various possibilities, to undertake various research. So, for example, we've had a lot that happens in Kenya, for example. There's a lot that happens in South Africa, in Latin America, and all of that contributes to the greater knowledge base that is needed. Again, I think according to the latest ranking, which came out earlier this month, I think it was, or this year rather, again, a lot of the Dutch universities making it into top world rankings in terms of just how good they are. And certainly our partners, Leiden, always feature on those prominently. So on the other side, I think there are a lot of international students in the Netherlands, and that actually just permeates the entire society. And from, as I said, from the villages to the biggest cities, you always see a diverse group of people coming from corners, the state research, working internships there, and it's just really just a fun and an interactive kind of environment. The actual classrooms themselves are also diverse, which is very, very important for those of you who are looking to go abroad right now. The university itself, I'm sorry, the country itself has about 54 universities in different cities, which is quite a lot. Again, when you take into account how big, small the country is. And then lastly, one of the most important things which you should take into account when listening to Carolyn speak about Leiden specifically is that there are essentially two types of higher education institutions in the Netherlands. Is to apply to universities, you need to be able to ensure that you meet the requirements. Really, and too much detail. A lot of it you can find on the set colleague there. But briefly, is essentially what is called the University of Applied Sciences, and there's Research University. The Research University is based, whereas the University of Applied Sciences has a lot more pragmatic approach to vocational studies, and the only is that the University of Applied Sciences do not lead to a PhD, whereas a research university education would lead to a PhD. But in terms of the opportunities that you get afterwards, I think everyone is pretty much on the same playing field there, and there's certainly no favoritism when it comes to the one or the other. And then the last significant thing here would be the scholarships that are available. Dan will elaborate more on the scholarships that are available for Leiden specifically. But just on the South African side okay, so one of the first things that you look at would be what would advise you to use the South African side. So South African side, colleague will share the links again. On the South African side, you have to look at a lot of government funded scholarship options. There are quite a few of those, and of course, for those of you who are in Gauteng, but we can also call people who are interested and want to take this further. But we would encourage you to please check out our website, which is studyinholland.nl, because there, depending on what you are specifically interested in, you're able to go onto the site. You can, let's say, for example, you're looking for a master's in agricultural science or something related to that. then you'll be able to see the country-specific scholarships and also the university-specific ones. So the ones that come from the Dutch government and the offers, but also do not forget the ones that come from the South African side, because South Africa itself also has that allow you to go to the Netherlands. And here I would suggest that people look at the IMA Memorial Trust, especially for those looking for fully funded scholarships. But one thing you have to notice is that they only specifically only apply to South Africans. But there's also the Laurie Dippenaar first round scholarship, and again, the links to these have also been posted on the link thing. And then you also have, for those who are already in the Netherlands, or if you are accepted to this place, and that living expense, which includes your living stipend and, of course, health insurance and all that kind of stuff. Details of that, of course, you can also get from the respective universities that you look for. There's a question about language requirements. There are no language requirements, for people who are South African or have studied in South Africa, because the norm is if you have studied for 3 years or more in English, then the language requirement is waived for you. But again, please do consult the individual universities or institutions that you are interested in order to ascertain whether you qualify for that or not. But I do not foresee any problems for people who have studied in South Africa or are South African. This is the website. As I said, it was a very short presentation. Opportunities you want to have if you just go there to studyinholland.nl. So for those of you who are, for example, if you're a lecturer, you'd also still be able to do that. So your type of mobility would be staff, not student. And there you can be able to see research examples or research opportunities that are available. So I see that there's a question that asks if you can do a PhD at an applied sciences university. No, you cannot. What you can do, however, depending on what your field is, you're able to transfer from a university of applied sciences to a research university, and that's where you can pursue your PhD studies, because that is way more theoretical than would be in an applied sciences. And for those of you who perhaps might be interested in more, so what's the question? Administrative staff. There are administrative staff opportunities. I do not have any examples that are right at the top of my head, but again, if you go into the studyinholland.nl, you go into, so not under students, but under staff mobility, you're able to see what opportunities are there. And if not, if you can't find anything, please do not hesitate to please call us or just contact us. Again, our details are available. We are more than happy to give you a ring and to schedule a chat with you in order to be able to facilitate your application process. And just the application processes, it is very important to know the difference in the academic calendars. While here in South Africa, we start in January and February, everyone in Europe starts in September or October. So it is very important to use this period now from September to normally about February, which is when applications close for the next year. So your research, and from that you'd be able then to apply, and then to obviously apply for fund at the same time, because I think that's the most important part. Anything has not been clear, please do not hesitate to contact us. As I said, I'll be more than happy to engage you on certain issues that you might have, or any concerns or things that perhaps were not clear throughout this presentation. If there aren't any specific questions right now, I will continue to ask some questions for you. I'll continue to answer questions while Caroline is giving her presentation on Leiden. So please, I'll now hand over to Caroline to please take over. Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully everything is working and everyone can hear me. And I'll get started a little bit with the Going Dutch presentation for Leiden University. Thank you so much for the intro about studying in Holland. I hope you learned an awful lot. And we can answer more questions as we go and at the end of this presentation. So please definitely make sure you're asking your questions, and we can be in touch with you after today as well. So don't worry if we don't get to your question. We'll do our very best to take care of you otherwise. Again, my name is Carolyn, and I work in the international office here at Leiden University. So I work with all the incoming bachelor and master students from abroad who are looking at all the different programs that we offer. And I realize there's a number of different types of people in the group today. I'm super excited that we're at capacity. So I'll try to address a number of the programs that we offer from bachelor through master, a little bit of PhD. But again, when you have questions that are specific to your situation, I'll be able to take care of those outside of the webinar in the coming days as well. So not to worry. There's a lot of different reasons that you've already learned about why you might choose the Netherlands as a study destination. But there's lots of reasons why you might choose Leiden specifically as well. So I'm going to have a little bit of overlap, but some things that deal specifically with Leiden overall. So we're going to talk about everything from our traditions and the innovation going on campus, to where we are, to our reputation, all the way through programs and student life and practical details overall. So it's quite a lot of information, which is good that you'll have the link later on to take a look again at all the information that's here. Now, in terms of Leiden University, it is actually the oldest university in the Netherlands. They're 442 years old. And with that comes a lot of responsibility in terms of the research that goes on here, our reputation worldwide, and the impact that we have on society in terms of what we're studying, but also what we're researching. The university actually was a gift from William of Orange to the region here for withstanding the siege of Leiden before 1575. And then after that, over the centuries, the city has grown up around the university. The entire city of Leiden is our campus. We focus a lot on academic freedom, so freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of forming your own opinion. So that's a theme you'll find here at Leiden very specifically, but in the Netherlands overall. And as I'm sure you can imagine, with 440 years, we have a lot of Nobel laureates and prize winners for our research, many ties to famous people. So everyone from our current king, our previous queen, one of the princes of Orange, have studied here at Leiden University. Our current prime minister is also a graduate of the university. Even former US President John Quincy Adams studied here. But even people like Albert Einstein studied and did research. Nelson Mandela has an honorary degree here from Leiden University as well. And more currently, you may or may not know in the music world, but the world famous DJ Armin van Buuren is also a graduate of Leiden. So there are certain names and a prestige level that comes with the university overall. And that is backed up essentially by a number of things. And you've already learned that all the Dutch universities are in the top 200 in the world, which is fantastic. But Leiden University is a top 100 university. So that means we're in the 1% around the world, and that's across the THE, which the new ones came out this week, and we are now 67th in the world. That's QS. That's all the subject rankings that you can think of as well. And we're also a founding member of the League of European Research Universities. So we have connections to all the major universities around the world, and especially within Europe. We also form a collaboration with Delft University of Technology and Erasmus University Rotterdam for a number of our programs. So you may very well see that there's a joint program that interests you that will involve one of those two particular organizations. So it's good to note. Now, in terms of where we are, to give you an idea, of course, we saw a map earlier, but here is just some photographic evidence of the type of place that you may be studying in the future. And these photos show Leiden in the center. It is a quaint Dutch town, very university oriented. So 1 in 10 is a student. So a lot of amenities, a lot of cultural things that happen in the city, things from pubs to restaurants and places to get food are all very student oriented, and it's a very vibrant city during the school year. In the summer, it's a little bit sleepier because the students tend to go home or work or so forth. But it's a beautiful, wonderful town to study and live in. But we also have a second location in The Hague, which is 10 minutes away. And The Hague is the International City of Peace and Justice. So the programs that we offer that fall into this kind of category are actually located in The Hague. It is a bigger city, about 200,000 people or so, so still much smaller than maybe you've experienced where you're living. But it's where the seat of government is located. It is also where NATO is located, the international criminal courts and tribunals, all the embassies and consulates, so very, very international in terms of area. Now, in terms of diversity, we're a medium-sized university worldwide, but we're medium to large in the Netherlands, so just under 27,000 students, of which 3,600 right now are international students. The programs will range anywhere from probably 15 to 50% international, depending on the program that you're in. So the overall university percentage is about 13 to 15%, but some of your programs will be surrounded by international students. And of course, that means we include South African students as well. This past year, we had approximately 16 students across all the different programs we offered. I'm still awaiting for this year's statistics, so I hope we've gone up just at least a little bit. I know that I just had an email conversation with a student who was in this webinar last year, who's already here on campus and starting her program. So it is very possible to make that step and come and study at Leiden. Now, in terms of the research and teaching that we do here, it's very important to understand what Leiden University offers and what we don't offer. Like I said earlier, we're looking for students who are excellent students, willing to form their own opinion, to be very active in their program. It's a very student-centered way of teaching here, so you have to be very active in your courses and research, and really focusing to make a difference in your area of research overall, or the program that you're studying. Now, there are 27 institutes at this university. There are 7 faculties, so we're a comprehensive university. But we have 11 research portfolios, and you can read them here on the screen. It just gives you an idea of the types of research going on here at the university, especially if you're looking at a PhD or master. These are the kinds of themes that our research will follow. But really, there's quite a range of programs overall. We have 7 faculties, like I said. We have a faculty of law, a faculty of medicine, a faculty of archaeology, social sciences, natural sciences, global governance and global affairs as well, and humanities. So quite a lot of programs. Now, oh, the screen overlapped a little bit. So at the moment, in English, we have 11 English taught programs. There are about 50 Dutch taught programs that are also possible if you are willing to either learn the Dutch language or have already got a background in this particular area. But most students from abroad will go into one of our English taught programs. And they range across, again, most of those faculties. So we have an archaeology program. We also have art history. If you want to learn Dutch and become immersed in the culture, there is a Dutch studies program that starts in English but finishes in Dutch. We have a number of programs in the international area. So our program is in area studies. We have a liberal arts and sciences program with 6 majors dealing with global challenges and global problems. So anything from global public health and governance, economics and development, to international justice, human diversity, also world politics, all these types of topics that deal with problems in the world and how we're going to solve them. That particular program is a specialized honors college for the bachelor students studying there, and it is a selective program where students live and learn in The Hague together. So it's a very specialized program. But we also have other programs such as linguistics. It's a new program for us this year, as is philosophy, looking at different types of comparative philosophy from East and West. Political science, so we have international relations and organizations for those of you who really want to take a look at that industry. Psychology, and we have a new program called Security Studies, dealing with things like terrorism and counterterrorism, cybersecurity, war and peace, issues such as this. And South and Southeast Asia Studies, which is one of our area studies as well. So many, many different options. And all of the information on each of those programs is on our website, which will be listed later with all the program details and the e-prospectus details. So if you want to see in-depth information about what courses would be covered in these programs, it's good to start there. They're all 3-year bachelor programs. And I'll get to the entry requirements later so you can know for South Africa what you would find. At the master level, we have 78 master's programs with almost 200 specializations within these programs. So in every faculty, you're going to have a number of courses across all the areas that I talked about earlier, from fundamental science or law, from humanities and social sciences to archaeology, computer science, governance. These types of topics are something that Leiden will focus in. And now you can see from these two lists also what Leiden is not. We are not a technical university, so we do not offer things like engineering. We are not a business university, so we do not offer business administration or MBAs or those types of programs. There are other excellent institutions in the Netherlands that do offer these programs, especially Delft University of Technology and Erasmus University Rotterdam, who we partner with for a lot of other programs and research. But there are other options as well. So just keeping that in mind overall in terms of what we offer. And of course, there are PhD opportunities across all of those faculties. And in the Netherlands, PhD study is really focused on the vacancies for research. So they're actually jobs that you're applying for the most part. And so you really have to look at the vacancies that are available at the university to see if it matches the type of research that you're interested in. You can also contact the graduate schools with your ideas and research proposals to see if there are any vacancies coming up or any new projects that are possible, or if they're willing to take on PhD students. You can also email individual professors if you find their research matches what your plan is. However, as a PhD student, you need to be proactive and find that information yourself. I often get students sending me a research proposal, but I have to send it back and say, you need to contact the people in the graduate schools. You need to find the right person at the institution doing the research that you're looking for. So you have to be very proactive and get in there to find out what is the best option for you. And all of those, again, are on our website in terms of being able for contact. Oh, there we go. Now, just as before I go forward, I'm just going to see if there's any Leiden-specific questions that I have missed about all of those particular topics. Let's just take a quick look. Quite a lot of questions. They're hard to read here. So I think I'll go on and we'll take a look at the end to see if we can cover most of the questions. Let's do that. The other important part, of course, of studying in the Netherlands and studying at Leiden University is student life. Because I think it's important when you're moving far from home or far from where you're working to be rest assured that you'll be welcomed on campus and that we have services for you. And that is the case in Leiden, certainly. We have orientation weeks in each city. So you can take part in one in Leiden or one in The Hague, depending on where you're living and studying. And it's a social week, but also a week to get to know your faculty, other people in your programs, maybe buy a bike, make sure that you're settled in your housing, all of these kinds of things so that you feel welcome on campus and you feel at home, ready to start your classes. They aren't mandatory, but I would highly recommend coming for the orientation weeks because I think you miss out on a lot if you're not able to attend overall. And we have many different programs and committees and clubs on campus, student organizations that students can belong to. Most of these student organizations are bachelor focused, but master students are welcome at the International Student Network, a lot of these social events, the different cultural festivals, road trips that happen so that you can experience Europe in addition to the Netherlands. And of course, we have sports and different types of clubs that are based on different languages or perhaps political interests or even music, things like this. So you have lots of opportunity to take part outside of your studies if you choose to. But of course, you can focus on your studies, but hopefully you can meet other people and have a little bit of an enriched experience when you're here in Leiden or The Hague. Now, you saw lots of photos of the Netherlands earlier. This is just another snapshot of Leiden and The Hague, different types of things that students are doing on a regular basis, whether it's riding their bikes, whether it's having a picnic near campus, visiting the Peace Palace, going on a boat tour. All these kinds of things are normal things that students will do in their spare time, of course. Now, in terms of student services, when you're applying to the Netherlands for your visas and residence permits, that goes through the admissions office. So it's one thing you don't have to worry as much about because the admissions office will help you through that process after you're admitted. And therefore, it's important to listen to the admissions office for the documentation and information they need on a timely basis by their deadlines. So aside from the applications themselves, that paperwork is through that office. But once you actually arrive, we have an international student advisor, both in Leiden and The Hague, that can help with any kind of non-academic issues you might have. We have study coordinators and study advisors in your programs. So if you have academic issues, you can have assistance from them. So there's support in both of those areas. There's many counselors available at our Plexus Student Center, so psychological, legal, financial counseling. If you have a physical or learning disability, then we have a whole center that's available for that as well. And of course, career services, which are very, very important. That's one of the reasons why most students will come and do a program, is they want to further their career. So there are services to help you with resumes, with interviewing, internships, these kinds of things to see what's out there. And to sort of get you ready to go put yourself out on the job market overall. That happens with each faculty, but also for the whole university. So there are more and more things available for students about that. And of course, you might be able to stay in the Netherlands to work after your program as well. So there are options to stay and look for a job. So we can give advice on that. And of course, there are excellence programs, and we do have housing through the university. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that so you can get a sense of sort of a regular room. We don't have dormitories with food programs and these sorts of things, so you are expected to cook and clean for yourself. Maybe you'll be cooking with other people in your building or people that you meet, but you will generally have either your own kitchen or a shared kitchen, depending on your preferences and budget. So this is just an idea. And earlier I talked about that very specific program at the bachelor level called Leiden University College, the Global Challenges Program, Liberal Arts and Sciences. They have their own building, which is pictured here, and 200 students are allowed to start there every year, and they have their own apartment in that building where they live and learn. So that's a specialized housing for that particular program only. All the other programs, we have our housing office that helps students look for housing. Now, there isn't enough housing through the housing office for everyone, so students can look on their own as well to find their house either in Leiden or The Hague where they're studying, and we give some support and ideas on how to do that as well. What matters? You know, how to apply, what are the requirements, what are the deadlines? All of these kinds of things are very, very important overall. So it's good to know that you should start always on the website, because for every program it can be slightly different. The faculties make the decisions on your applications. Sometimes the deadlines are different as well, and the language requirements can be different. Now, in terms of entry requirements, I'm going to start with the bachelor program. So for those of you here today that are looking at going into a bachelor program, the secondary school diploma requirements are listed here. And so you see it's a NSC, or the National Senior Certificate, with an average mark of 75% or higher in your academic subjects. So you have to take a look at your transcript if you're studying that particular certificate. There are many other diplomas that are admissible as well. For example, an IB, or International Baccalaureate Diploma, or perhaps A-levels if you're at a British school. So they require 3 grades of C or higher in academic subjects. We have a full listing of diplomas if your diploma is not listed here on our website, and you can always ask me by emailing later as well. And that is for the vast majority of programs in terms of admissibility. The university college is more selective, so you'll need higher grades than that to be admitted to that program. You'll have to have a good math proficiency, and you'll have to do an interview for that particular program. So it's good to understand that there's a different process for the liberal arts and sciences college that we have on campus. The deadlines vary quite wildly as well. Generally speaking, for the university college, the liberal arts and sciences, the 1st of January is the main deadline for non-EU students. We also have a deadline of the 15th of January for our psychology program. And then generally, April 1st is the last deadline for non-EU students. If you happen to have an EU passport, you have a little bit more generosity for your deadlines, but I would always recommend applying before the main regular deadlines so that you know sooner than later if you've been admitted to your program and you can make your plans to attend. Now, in terms of what would you do, essentially you need to be able to apply. So you're doing the online application form, which I'll tell you the process later. You're going to be uploading documents to that online form, so your transcripts or secondary diploma if you already have it, motivation letters. You may have to show your English proficiency scores depending on your background. There may be recommendation letters required for the liberal arts and sciences, and there's an application fee for all students applying of €100. Once you submit all of that, the admissions department will take a look. They will make a decision, usually anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks, for you to know whether you're going to have an admission offer. So they try to get through those as quickly as possible. And that is why the deadlines are important. If you apply before the deadline, it might go a little further than waiting till April 1st, for example, to put your application in when the bulk of applications come in. So earlier is always better. Now, in terms of masters, you have to take a look at your background as well. So in the Netherlands, you need to have studied something at your bachelor that is relevant to the master you're looking at. So you have to look at the entry requirements of the program. You have to make sure that you have completed an honors bachelor diploma, so 3+1, from a top research university in South Africa, or perhaps elsewhere in the world, depending on where your bachelor was from. And then check for the course requirements. So I'm going to give you an example on the next page here. On our website, it looks a little, actually no, this is the new website, sorry. You'll go to the program that you're looking at. So the master program you're looking at, there will be a tab about admission requirements. And you'll click on that, and it will give you a list of what the entry requirements are. So it might have a list of courses that you'd have to have taken beforehand, types of topics you'd have to study. It might be a little less in depth as well. So it might just be you need a bachelor program to apply. So you definitely have to read through those requirements to see if your background is similar. If it is similar or you think it is similar, then I would encourage you to apply. There's no way to find out for sure unless you submit a full application. So unfortunately, we can't pre-assess applications and tell you if you're admissible. You have to apply to find out. So that's why matching your background to the admission requirements is a good first step. And of course, there are deadlines, but for the master programs, we have 2 start dates per year for most. We start in September and we start in February. So depending on when you're starting, your deadline will vary. And of course, if you're applying for scholarships, the scholarship deadlines are usually much earlier. So I highly encourage you to plan well in advance of the start date that you're looking at so you don't miss out. Generally, for a September intake, the scholarship deadlines are around the 1st of February, and your deadline is generally April 1st for the application itself. If you want to start in February, in fact, there's still time for that. The application deadline is October 15th. And the scholarship deadlines are mostly passed for February, but you could also look at next September if that's something for you. Now, of course, the system is the same. It's an online application form in StudiLink to apply for Leiden University. You'll have to upload all your digital documentation, so whether that is a resume or CV, there's a motivational statement, your transcripts and your diploma. If you haven't finished your diploma yet, you can provide a letter from the university indicating that you'll have graduated by the time your program here would start. You may need to even have a small research proposal, so you'll have to double check what the program is asking for overall. And again, depending on your particular background, there may be an English proficiency exam required in terms of what you did for your bachelor or your high school, maybe if you haven't come from South Africa, for example. Now, in terms of tuition fees, this year's tuition fees haven't been yet set by the Dutch government, but our non-EU fees are not changing for this year, so there has not been an increase. For non courses range between about 10,500 and 12,635 euro per year for those 3-year programs, depending on the program. For master programs, it ranges anywhere between 15,000 and 25,000 euros, depending on the program. So that is one thing that you will have to double check to see what is possible. If you have an EU passport by chance, then you would qualify for the EU tuition fees, which are around 2,000 euros per year. It's not based on residency, but on your passport. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of that. Now, earlier people were asking about scholarships, and you heard a little bit from Nuffic about the Dutch scholarships that are available. We have the Holland Scholarship that's also awarded with Nuffic NASO for our bachelor programs. It's a 5,000 euro award in your first year only, and it is competitive. So for students that are applying for bachelor programs, I recommend applying for that scholarship if you are a very good student. For master scholarships, we have the Leiden Excellence Scholarship. And that, again, is a competitive scholarship for students generally in the top 10% of their class. So if you are a very good student and you think you fall in that category, this would be a good scholarship for you to apply for. It's partial to full tuition, so you still have to fund your living expenses. And then our science faculty has specific programs or scholarships for astronomy and physics overall. And if you can't do a full program here, there is a possibility of studying abroad at Leiden with the Mandela Scholarship Fund. And all of these will be listed on our website with the deadlines, what's required, if there's extra documentation, and so forth. And in November, a new scholarship or a scholarship will be relaunched with Nuffic NASO. So it's something to take a look at. Further details as of November, December 2017, sorry. So there probably will be other options for you. But the Leiden Excellence Scholarship is our main scholarship for students coming from abroad overall. Now, that's a lot of information, and I want to close at the moment with the need to have in order to find out very specific details about the programs. I do encourage you to find us on social media. The first email address there, the study at Leiden Univ, is a student assistant and myself. That's our team. The admissions office and student services can be located at info@leidenuniv.nl. So if you have an application-specific question or sort of a logistical question, ask people to email. If it's about student life or getting in touch with students or these kinds of things, then the general information email is the best. And we will be emailing you so you have all of this information. So if you can't write it down fast enough, then don't worry. We'll make sure we're in touch with you overall. And that's what I wanted to cover today for you. I think we will take a look at some of these questions if we can. Let's just see. I know that Megan has been working hard to answer a number of them as we go. Let's see here. Did you see any particular?
Maybe elaborate. Yeah, so there's been quite a lot of questions about PhD, PhD applications and how it's professors, for example. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Okay. Sure, absolutely. For PhD students, on our website, there is a vacant, you have to go to the vacancies page, so job vacancies at Leiden University, to find out what particular programs and what research projects are looking for students at this particular point. So that's usually the first place that I tell students to take a look. On the graduate studies program pages, so for each faculty, for example, the graduate studies or the Graduate School of Law, for example. They will have a listing of the professors, so you can look at the different professors, look at their research focuses, see if there's a focus that fits what you're looking to do, and you can contact them directly. Or they may very well have a PhD counselor that can take your emails and your questions. So it is very specific because I can see, as you can imagine, that everyone would have a different research focus. But there's no blanket statement, unfortunately, for PhDs. It's very specific to what you want to research. So on our website there, if you actually just go to universiteitsleiden.nl, you'll be able to find the graduate links there as well. And when I get your information and match up who's interested in PhDs, I'll make sure those links get sent out to you by email as well, so you know where to go.
Thank you. Are there any other specific questions that people may happen to have? About any other general logistical or any other questions that you may have? I think we're going to use the next about 5 or 6 minutes or so just to answer those. So if anyone has specific questions, please do not hesitate to ask, sorry, and we'll answer them.
Yeah. I see here someone asks, how many master's programs do you have for law?
Applications are done through StudyLink. Yeah.
And there are 2 regular LLM programs, and there are a number of what we call advanced LLMs. So programs for students who have already become lawyers or have a master's in law already in very specific areas such as air and space law or digital technology law, children's rights law. There's a number of them that you can take a look at. So it is a focus for a lot of international students. And yes, for Leiden University, students will start as of October 1st, applying for September 2018 through StudyLink. You'll register and you'll receive instructions on how to fill in the online application form. This can be different per university. Some start with StudyLink, some end with StudyLink. So you have to look at the requirements and the process per university. But for Leiden, you start in StudyLink.
Carolyn, there's a question about whether a student studying a bachelor's can be accredited and continue at Leiden, basically a transfer.
So a transfer within the bachelor program. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Generally, transfer into the Netherlands in general is a difficult thing because they are 3-year programs, and you're studying something very specifically. What happens with those students? You can apply to the program, and if you're admitted and you decide to come, you can ask for the university admission committee or the exam board of your program to assess the courses that you have completed previously and see if they will grant you an exemption for a number of classes. It's not something, unfortunately, that you'll be able to find out before you would start the program, and very few courses will most likely transfer. So you might get a few, but definitely, I can't say a number actually, but for some programs like the University College, it's a semester or less. So you should be prepared to be starting from scratch if you want to come to the Netherlands in the midst of a bachelor program, but you might get some exemptions. It's up to each particular program. There isn't a set system for exchange for a transfer like that.
Thank you. And then I think another question that has been persistent is whether Leiden, or at least you have a dedicated staff that is able to assist people with job placements afterwards.
I would say job placements, no. You will have to do your own research and do your own looking in the job market, but our careers office does offer a lot of resources and access to different kinds of platforms that will list jobs for you to look and to apply to. They can help you prepare, whether it's a CV or your interviewing skills or so forth. They can help with writing cover letters, these kinds of things. So they're there for preparation, but they are not there to place you in a job. So that part will be up to you.
And what is the waiting periods basically before you know the outcome of your application?
Generally, once your
So
final...
Catalan.
Okay, Kathleen. Generally, once you have completed the application and have all of the documents, so a fully completed application, generally 4 to 6 weeks. If you're applying close to a deadline, it's probably going to be closer to 6 weeks than 4 weeks. Some programs can get back to you very, very quickly, so it can vary quite a lot. But if you apply earlier, there's less of a busyness, I would say, in terms of the number of applications coming in. They can get through them a little more quickly, and you might find out, even in 2 or 3 weeks. It depends, but be ready for up to 6 weeks.
Are there any other questions, any burning questions that people may have? Just a reminder, guys, those who are, this webinar will be available for those who are able to attend, or those whose internet connection was not so good. And you can also share it with any of your friends or families or anyone else who's interested. And of course, we are available to assist. Again, just a reminder to look at the .nl, and of course go specifically to Leiden's website as well in order to check out what programs are available. And I think we will look at any more, like 1 or 2 more specific questions. Carolyn, is that okay?
Sure, that's fine. I'm happy to answer. I'm just doing a scroll here as well.
Yeah, so we've shared the YouTube link to which the webinar will be available to anyone and everyone. What's the application fee for you guys, Carolyn? Is that the same across everyone?
No, it's different per institution, but for all of Leiden University, there's 2 options. At the bachelor level, if you're only applying to the Liberal Arts and Sciences Leiden University College program, they have a €50 application fee. If you're applying to any other bachelor program or any other master program, the application fee is €100, and that covers up to 3 applications. So if there's a few programs that you're interested in that you want to try to see if you're admissible, then you can apply for up to 3 for that same €100 altogether.
Fantastic. And that's another thing that's come up as well is post-doctoral studies. Is there any dedicated resources, or how do people go about
There isn't
that?
a general, I would say there isn't really a general resource for that. There are summer schools, and we have a summer school website that you can take a look at. Of course, but in terms of additional study, it's still best to contact the graduate schools to see if they have anything particular on offer. All of the 27 research institutes sometimes have their own options aside from what we have on the website, but generally speaking, they will be able to tell you what research is going on at any given point and what projects are available to be taking part in.
Fantastic. I think we can wrap up now. Okay. Maybe one more. Application fee. Someone asked if application fee is refundable if one gets funding. I'm not quite sure what that means.
I know what they're talking about. So that if you get a scholarship, would you have it refunded? I can't answer specifically at the moment. I'd have to look at how that works with the admissions office, but I will try to match up your name and question to an email address and get that information for you specifically. Because I understand what you're meaning. I just don't have the answer at this particular moment. Okay. Generally, they're not refundable, but in scholarship situations, I'm not positive.
Okay. Right, I think we have come to the end of this session. Thanks so much, Caroline, for joining us. Thank you to everyone who also took precious time out of their day to come and sit in and listen on the session. Once again, we'll make it available available to those who are not able to attend, or if you've just joined us, please do not worry. We're also trying to reach out to as many South African institutions as possible. And for those who are in the South African higher education sector, you'll definitely know that we are making a more attempts to ensure that we get a bigger reach for interested in terms of building the international. Thank you very much to everyone. And we will stay around for maybe one more minute to answer a few questions offline, but I know that Caroline probably has to go. So thank you very much, Caroline.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you
Okay.
everyone for your time today.
Okay. Thank you. I really hope you guys have found this informative. There certainly will be other webinars that will take place, maybe not necessarily with Leiden, but with other Dutch higher education institutions. So we will get in touch as and when those opportunities become available. Some of them will be more focused, so there'll be a lot more that are focused, for example, in agriculture, or people who might be interested in the University of Applied Sciences, as opposed to just doing your pure doctoral research. So please take note of those in the upcoming weeks and months going forward. And yeah, with that, we will now end the session. Thank you once again. I really hope